Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to the Faculty of Engineering and IT, our webinar series. And tonight we are having a webinar on the School of Computer Science, in particular our undergraduate degree called the Bachelor of Advanced Computing. I am the recruitment manager for the Faculty of Engineering and IT, and I have two very important guests with me as well tonight. To my right, I have Dr. Josiah Poon, who's the Senior Lecturer for the School of Computer Science, and he's also the Director of International Engagement. Beyond him, I have Syed, who is actually a current student at the moment studying a Bachelor of Advanced Computing, and he is majoring in Computer Science and Project Management. So we have two very vital staff and students here. So please make sure you ask questions throughout this presentation and webinar series. How this is going to work is I will soon pass it to Dr. Josiah, and he will commence this webinar with a short presentation around the school and our degree, the Bachelor of Advanced Computing. And then once he finishes, we will open the floor to questions. So it will be an open kind of informal discussion where we can have a conversation and we can help you guys answer the questions and all those burning questions that you have. And this is welcome from domestic students, international students, parents or teachers, or anyone that is just interested in our program. Perhaps you have a different question about a different engineering degree, and I'm more than happy to help you answer those questions as well. So to begin with, I will pass it over to Dr. Josiah. Before I do, can I please just encourage you to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. You can type questions in there at any time, and we'll do our best to answer those questions, and we'll start commencing answering the questions after this presentation. Thank you. Over to you, Josiah.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Josiah Poon, and Millie has introduced me that I'm one of the academic staff in the School of Computer Science. So in a few minutes, I'll sort of introduce our exciting program called Bachelor of Advanced Computing to you, and hopefully that it also sort of excites you and coming along to meet us in person in the semester to come. So University of Sydney is the first university in Australia, and it's not just because of its history, that it also sort of ranks #1 in Australia as the most employable graduates in the country, and also we're the 5th in the world. That means that the industry in at least in the countries knows that our graduates has all the quality and also the knowledge to have their organizations in their work. Oh, in addition to that, I think I'll just go back to the slides a little bit, sorry about that. We also sort of, in addition to this employability, we just, the Australian usually runs something we call Excellence in Research Australia, and the School of Computer Science has basically ranked, has a score of 5 or 5, where 5 is the best, or we call it 4 is at the world standard, and 5 actually it's above the world standard. So you will be coming to meet some of our staff who are actually the experts or the guru in the field. So the School of Computer Science has a lot of, it's not just an academic, more than academic institutions, because it works strongly with industries. We have linkage with Microsoft, IBM, Cisco, Google's, you name it, all right? So a lot of the importance of game players, we have been working with them. And so the degree in itself, that if we will have to have well, there are 2 projects actually, and then one of them is the team project in the 3rd year, that you work as a team, and these projects are sourced from industries, and so you will have a chance to work with them in your final year. The School of Computer Science is in a purpose-built building. We have all these advanced facilities there, and the last bullet point here that we said that is a research lab teaching. As I said, that we are very strong in research. University of Sydney is particular focus in the research areas. So all the staff here are leaders in the field. Especially, well, of course, in the first 2 years, you're learning the fundamentals. But in the third, and especially I think in the fourth year, you will touch on a lot of like top-notch activities in the field. So you will be exposed to some areas that actually the staff is working on at that same time. So that will make you as you not only know what is going on in the industry, but you actually know what is ahead of the industry. So what is this Bachelor of Advanced Computing? So it is a 4 years full-time degree in the computing areas. We have the highlight here that you can have an exit point after 3 years of to leave the degree if you fulfill all the requirements we specify with the title called Bachelor of Computing. But for most students, they would like to go to the 4th year. And in that 4th year, we have a called Embedded Honors thesis. So a student will be working individually with a academic staff on the topic, and the student have to write a thesis on his or her own. And that's really exciting because a lot of time that you actually break ground into some exciting areas. So it's not uncommon that some actually of our 4th year honors students, they publish their work into a journal and major conferences. So in those 4th years, so you will have the opportunity to learn the practical as well as the theoretical knowledge about the field. As I said, you will learn them from the leaders in the computing area. So the degree actually has 4 majors. I think it's in this slide, but we'll read in the next slide. And so it gives you all this flexibility that you can go into 1 or 2 majors, or two majors, or you can enrich your breadth and depth. And then, as I said, because we have these honors programs that you can go into the research pathways. The degree also allows you to not just working on the computing area, because to me, computing is a lot of time is more it's a practice and it's associated with certain kind of application. So you can choose some of the majors from a very large share pool that we are about to show you. Right? So I have just mentioned that we have different majors in our degree. So you can see all the gray boxes on the left. All right. So the first 4 gray boxes are actually the 4 majors from our degree, which are the software development majors, information system majors, computer science majors, and computation data science majors. So a student has to take one of these 4 majors, but because of the we allowed you to sort of enough space for you to have a second major, right? So the second majors can come from the computing area, that is like the very bottom one. We can have combining information system majors plus a software majors. But at the same time, you can combine that with majors from a different discipline. For example, combine with music, marketing, linguistics from the arts and social science faculty, or genetics and genomics from the science faculty. So there are a lot of ways that you can combine things that you think that will help your career. So here are this very large share pool of majors. These are just some of them. I don't think that we have listed all the majors there. So we can see that there are majors coming from arts and social science, from architectures, from business, from health and medicines, from science and agriculture. So you can just find the one that you believe that will help you in your career path. The degree is a professional degree, so it's accredited by the Australian Computer Society. In fact, we are going to have this Australian Computer Society will come to us every 5 years to go through the program, our curriculum, talk to the staff, talk to the students, talk to the industry people, and to sort of get an understanding of what the program is about, whether this program is up to the professional level. So last time we had a very flying colors and they were very good report about us. So I would expect the same things to happen in this year, which will take place, I think, in around August. So the School of Computer Science has computer labs, of course, for the students, and so they're to facilitate your work. And we have different sort of the specialized laboratory for certain type of learning. We have bottom, we have the CHAI lab, CHAI, which is the computer and human adaptive interactions. This is more the human-computer interactions. Risk lab, which is about the visualizations and so on. Grip lab is about the distributed computing and also the multimedia lab. And as I said earlier, that we have a lot of engagement with different partners from industry, from universities. And so you can see that we have the linkage is related to research, and sometimes it's also the student projects. And so we can students, we can go for exchange. We will talk about that later on in the last slide. And also the industry, that some of the students can have internship or experience working in the industry partners. So where can a Bachelor of Advanced Computing can take us to? Maybe I'll go through this one. So, okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry, this one. So this is a degree, as I said, it is a professional degree, and you can leave the program in the third year, but you miss a lot of fun in the fourth year, because a lot of now computing is a very sort of broad areas and a lot of new things happening like every day. So in the fourth year, you learn a lot of the advanced topics, and in fact, some of the classes actually combine with the master students. So basically, the fourth year, there's a lot of like shared learning together with a master degree students. Like what we now heard about this deep learning, data science, cloud computing, they're all in this fourth year. So if you're not going to the fourth year, you miss a lot of the fun, and that will sort of enrich, give you the, enable you to go to do some more challenging work, whether in an industry or if you want to move on to a higher degree. The students can also in the fourth year go for an exchange. Right? So exchange is a time that you're going to another universities, not for holiday, but actually for study. You can stay there from 1 semester to 2 semesters. So at most you can stay there for 1 whole year. So what you're going, and then when you're over there, you're not say wasting your time or because I've spent about 1 year in the, let's say in USA, then I'll have to stay back or to delay my study, because what you are going to study there will be counted back to your degree here. So so that's the great things. You have exposure to something very different because you're in a new environment, and you learn things from different university, and you can be an alumni of another universities. And at the same time, what you're learning you can bring back to your to Sydney, and you can continue to contribute to your study. So this is a very good opportunity. In fact, I just recommend my 2 sons to go for exchange. And one of them is he went to Cornell, the other one went in US, and the other one went to Edinburgh in UK, and they both loved it. All right, so it is a very, very precious experience. So that opens not just to domestic students, this is open to international students as well. So here is the sort of entry requirements. This is what you see is what you get. So there's no sort of hidden agendas behind that. If you get this mark, you'll be given a place. So the math is generally sort of required, especially in today's computing, unless you're going to doing very mundane work, right? But you want to be more challenging work like the data science work or machine learning, deep learning, you definitely need to have a good math background. That would give you a very, very good support to your ongoing study. Right? So look at this slides to see whether you have all these necessary math skills to enable you to go on for that degree. So I think I will just stop here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Josiah. So I'll just switch screens. I'll just wait until you can see us. Okay, hello. So I can see we've actually already got some questions coming, which is excellent. What I might do is I'll also bring Syed into this conversation. Do you want to tell us a bit about why you chose the Bachelor of Advanced Computing at Sydney Uni and why you chose those majors?
All right. So hey everyone, I'm Syed and I'm currently doing Bachelor of Advanced Computing with Project Management and Computer Sciences as my major. I decided on taking computer science as a field when I was in 9th grade roughly, but in a lot of universities around the world, not just in Australia, in order to do computer science, you have to also take engineering, and you also have to complete engineering. And to me, it just didn't seem intuitive. Why can't I just do computer science? While searching for a degree that I wanted to do, only the University of Sydney offered a program where I could do where I could dive headfirst into pure computer science without having to do engineering units. And also it provided me with the flexibility to choose a second major, not only in computer science, but in a shared pool of more than 100 majors.
So, and why do you think that that's a benefit as a current student to study 2 different majors? Do you think that would benefit you to get a job, or you just have different interests, so it can kind of lean towards that?
It could serve both. So I mean, a lot of people have many different passions. So you could say you always had a passion in music, and still you could go on learning computer science. Personally, for me, computer science is a field that transcends transcends into a lot of applications in a lot of different fields. I mean, they say this is the age of information, and basically you could transform any field with the power of computer science. So yeah, basically to me that makes sense that you could choose a second major outside.
Yeah, I think we're quite unique with our Bachelor of Advanced Computing degree in terms of how flexible it is. And like Syed says, you're not pigeonholed into one industry, and having that second major from a different faculty can kind of perhaps set the student above their competition when they go and get a job.
Yes, I think in the past actually we had that flexibility, but I think now it's even better because it's the majors that you're doing in another discipline can be really recognized. I will still remember that I had a student who was interested in computer science, and then he did all his other majors in music because he really want to come up with computers in helping to create music. So that's one area. And then another student who did computer science, and then her other majors is more in the Japanese studies because her aim is to be a game developer in Japan, right? And at the end, that's how and then she also arranged to go to Japan as exchange students. So at the end, she really got a job as a game developer in Japan. So you can use how you can combine the majors that you think fits for yourself that's sort of really useful, right? And that's a very unique opportunity as well. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, so I've got some questions coming through here. Is there a computer science club at Sydney University, or a club or society?
Yeah, there is. one very active club. It's amongst the most active in Australia, actually. It's called the Sydney Young Student Networks Computer Society. I mean, they just changed their name. So yeah, it's basically SYNCS. So what they do is they run weekly workshops on like a variety of topics that range from like web development to like cybersecurity. And they also have a lot of events with industry. So you get like a lot of networking opportunities with them.
Awesome.
Yeah, yes, so it's not just a social gathering, but it's also a lot of very serious things that I think every Tuesday you have the barbecue, but after that you also have industry people or other people coming in to give talk about the industries. And I still remember that you used to arrange a lot of mock interview or inviting industry people to come here to help you to improve your interview skills. You also have sort of program to help students to learn programming, right? So there's a lot of things that they are doing. This very much, very hard working for these sorts of students. Yeah.
So our next question is so this person anonymous has asked, I'm interested in the combined degree of advanced computing and science, and I want to learn more about AI and machine learning in particular. So my question is, what are the possible routes or subjects that will allow me to do this? So I'm guessing what subjects, as in what units of study would lead to AI.
Okay, so we haven't yet had a particular major called AI, which so they say AI is currently still under the computer science major. So we have if you have to work in this area, so basically, first of all, you have to do a major in computer science, and we have a prescribed sort of study that you have to take. But then in your fourth year, then you have a lot of options because we have machine learning, we have deep learning, we have a lot of pieces of data science. So these all also add up to help you to go into the AI area. And then in the science, of course, then you can try to see which science areas that you think fit. So let's say that if you are interested in biology and you combine with the AI and it becomes more like a bioinformatics program for yourself, or you can if you're chemistry, you can go become a chemometric. So it depends how you like to do. And each of the majors, even in science, if let's say it's chemistry that you want to aim at, they prescribe what are the units that you have to do. So once you are in, especially during your enrollment, this is if you have questions, you can come and talk to us, and then we sort of advise you how you can sort of make the best use of your time in moving through the degree.
Okay, yeah, so that's a really great point to note is if and when you do come to Sydney Uni and you come and study a Bachelor of Advanced Computing or any of our programs, and it comes to enrolment, it can be quite confusing and daunting. I'm sure you probably agree. And the best way to get around it is use your resources, academics, tutors, the staff around you, or students, if you may know some. They're your best tool, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, it's a really good point.
And also that the major is not a fixed thing. So when you come in, you don't have to declare I'm interested in doing AI and then you're locked into it, because you might over time find that, hey, I actually like this area. So you can change your major by yourself. You don't have to inform us. Basically, we define the majors by looking at what you have done, and then we say that, oh, you have completed this major. So it's more after you complete everything, we look at it. So you can come to uni, discuss with all these students of in SYNCS and other students to find out what these majors are and what are the possibilities that how you can combine with other things. And as we said, we have more than 100 majors in the universities. I mean, I don't know some of them as well. So you have to talk to all the students. I think that will be I would say that this is the best sort of way to go forward. Yeah.
So there's no kind of restrictions in terms of what majors they'd like to do.
You don't.
Okay, excellent. Okay, on to our next question. Is it possible to shorten the degree length that has double majors or for combined degrees?
I don't know what we shorten. So the curriculum is counted by the credit points. So it is to see whether you have completed the number of credit points. So if you forfeit all your vacations, you can do some of the units over the summer vacations or winter vacation. In a way, yes, you can shorten a little bit, but it will not be substantial because a lot of the core units of majors, they usually still are offered over this what we call the regular semester. So it will not shorten that much. And for the combined degree, it is already because we have rationalized the degrees. So, for example, is that the advanced computing is 4 years, and let's say that a business degree is 3 years. So, if you add the simple math tells that if you do this getting an advanced computing, after that you go on to do a commerce degree, you have 7 years, but it is now 5 years. So it's just 1 more year in addition to the advanced computing. The way that it works is partly some of the things that we think, well, you have the knowledge, so you don't have to do it again. And secondly, that's because we mentioned that each of the degrees, they have some spaces for you to do subjects as considered an elective. Yeah. And now in this case, if a combined degree, you're using all the elective space to do all the core requirement of another degree. Mm-hmm. That's why we can substantially shrink it from 7 years to 5 years. Yeah. Right.
Okay, what is the required ATAR score if you're studying in Melbourne? So if you're at a high school in Melbourne, our ATAR required to get into our program is 90, and you would need the equivalent ATAR in Melbourne. So I know you guys have QTAC, and our version of QTAC is UAC, University Admission Centre. So what that means is you will need to apply through UAC, not QTAC, to come and study with us at Sydney University. And the admissions people behind the scenes, it's not Sydney Uni, but it's the admissions people, the UAC, that actually do the correspondence of your ATAR. So whatever mark you get in your qualification, whether that be an IB I think is 33, ATAR 90, or perhaps you're doing an international qualification in Melbourne, but they will make sure that it corresponds, and then they feed that to us, and then if you meet that requirement, the equivalent, you'll get an offer. So the main thing to note is you'll need to apply through UAC, and that goes for any domestic student that lives interstate. You will need to apply through UAC. Because every state have their own admission centres. Okay, on to Alex's question. Bridging courses in chem and physics were on the slide. Are they needed in HSC? So it's not assumed knowledge for...
No. All right. Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think that you really need that.
You've heard it from the academic.
Yes. The degree is more a software oriented degree. So the requirements of physics, chemistry, and biology is really minimal, right? But I kept saying that math is important, all right? So that is the most important thing. You can get rid of physics, I think, depending where you want to go. So we still have some kind of linkage with physics, but chemistry and biology is now, I don't really think, unless you are going to this the combined with advanced computing and medical science, then you might, and the chemistry and physics will be, chemistry is more important in that case. Yeah.
So following on from that, Josiah, is mathematics compulsory to go into advanced computing? Is studying mathematics at high school compulsory?
I would say so. I have seen a student coming in doing all the art subjects, and he got into our degree, and I think it was a miserable thing to him. I think in the subsequent semester I could see him struggling. So math is important.
It is.
Yes,
and it is a prerequisite as well. So that means you will need to study mathematics and get a band 4, at least a band 4, in your high school qualification to be eligible for our program, Bachelor Advanced Computing. Okay, next question. In regards to what actually happens when studying in the degree, what is the learning approach in USyd? Is it very practical and applied or theory? Practical, applied, theory. What's kind of the ratio? Both?
Both. And I think what I said, one of the slides that we are linking these sort of theories to the practice. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, of course, I mean, the university is very intensive in the research, so we are trying to train the students to to understand the theory, but we all are also aware that I think majority of students are not going to do a PhD program, and they will go to the workforce. So to have those practice or the skills is a must, it's a mandate for us. So you learn both of them. Yeah.
Have you done any kind of practical or what's the kind of your experience that you've had as a second student?
I feel like computer science in general is like a very practical subject. So whatever you learn in class, you get to do it in your tutorials, and you also will be.
An example of what you had to do.
So like in my first year, I did like a unit on web development. So basically, like in the end, like I had to like learn like a combined 5 languages, and like we built like a very massive website, complete with like front end and back end. So we're looking at like all of the knowledge that you'll probably learn in class will be applied to your assignments and also in your final exam. So yeah, basically you're like learning whatever you'll be using in the workplace tomorrow.
Okay. That's really good to know. So, and it's that because I mean, I think we all like to know that whatever we're doing will be practical, because we know that's how we learn best. So it's really nice to hear from a college student and an academic that coincides, that it is practical.
As I said, I mean, in your third year, you every student want to graduate, even that if you want to exit the third year, you have to complete a team-based industry project, and that they are the real industry people. They are real clients, and they really have a real need, and they're expecting you to give them a solution. So you have to talk to people, you have to find out what they want. So it is trying to bring all your knowledge together and to be able to come up with a solution, just like you are working as a full-time employee.
And in terms of students going on to their 4th year with the embedded honours, do they need to meet a certain GPA requirement to go on to the 4th?
It is in the process of discussion.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm the honors coordinator. I was still trying to enforce that, actually.
Oh, I see.
I think at the moment that it didn't say that, but we really want to train the students so that, or we want to have our research students in the honors program. They are really prestigious cohorts.
Okay.
Yeah. So for right now, let's say that for the current cohort that I have, I mean, our minimum requirement to go this honors project is, we said that is a credit average. But if I look at what my current cohort, they are distinction average.
Okay.
So you have to have like this kind of caliber in order to come into the program.
Yes, very high level.
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to know any programming languages before I start this course?
To be honest, like I've never done any bit of programming before I came to uni. So yeah, like short answer, you don't need to like be fluent or even know the basics of programming. You'll have the first unit as introduction to programming, or you'll learn Python or Java based on your preference. And I feel like they'll like just set you up into like learning further languages. So, but yeah, it's always like a very good thing to like learn a language in handy. Like if I were to like give advice to my younger self before coming in, I would probably go for like a very basic language like HTML, or maybe even if I'm challenging myself, maybe Python, but that's about it.
But you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, my previous honor student, she came in as a science student, and she planned to do major in pharmacology and want to do PhD in pharmacology, but after she came and said, hey, this is not the same kind of chemistry she learned in high school. And then she coming to know about this programming subject. I said, okay, that's fine. So she had never done any programming, and then hey, she loved it, and then she continued. And and then she got a really good grade. I think she's almost a medalist, but yes, just a little bit, but she was very good. So I mean, and in fact, a lot of our students that are top students at the end, when they first started, they have not touched about any programming languages before. So, but I think the most important thing is whether you are a motivated learner.
Yeah.
You have to be curious. You want to try it out. I think you mentioned that it is a hands-on subject. So computers is the hands-on discipline. You have to try it. All right. I mean, you won't crash the computers. All right. And so that's. So even you crash it, just ask. Yeah, just buy another one.
You'll
learn. Easy.
Okay, so Josiah, roughly how many students do we get in our first year advanced computing degree, roughly?
I think it's about 100.
100. So it's a relatively small cohort. So that kind of one-on-one, a little bit more personalized experience, which is good. Okay, are there any prerequisite subjects that needed to be completed in BCE in order to get into this course? So the same applies for the BCE, it's mathematics. So depending on what your curriculum calls mathematics, I'm not sure what it is, what they call it in Victoria. However, you can look on our website and it will have the equivalent name. But in short, yes, the prereq is maths, is mathematics, but I'm not sure of the actual term and how that translates to the Victorian curriculum. So you'll need to just look on our website, and the easiest way is Google Sydney Uni Maths Prereq, and the page comes up and it will show you exactly what you need. Okay, I'm in Year 10 right now and deciding what subjects to choose for Year 11. What subjects are required or recommended in order for me to study software development at Sydney Uni? Okay, we're getting a lot of subject questions. This is good. So Year 10 student, good question, because that's when you would need to select your subjects. In terms of required, mathematics, mathematics band 4, so it's not general maths, it's the next one up. In terms of what subjects are recommended, are there any subjects that either of you recommend a high school student study when they've got the choice to choose at this age?
Well, like my brother is in high school at the moment, and he is also like interested in computer science, basically. I think he's doing a mobile development unit, but like anything that's like related to computer science will do. Like as we said, like you really like don't need any experience in programming or computer science. You get taught all about it over here. So yeah.
Yes, I would like also the promotions here that you can also try apply. We are running a national computer science summer school every year, and Year 10 is the right time to join us, and it is usually in January. But then you have to apply through the school on recommendations from your teacher. So this is one aspect, and the other aspect is that we also have an online version that you can also learn about Python programming, and then you can so you can climb the ladder to see whether you are the top in the cohort. And a third one that we just trial run this year is we invite some students to actually to learn one of our first year unit. Of course, this is a prestigious one. We're just trying, and I was told by our current undergraduate director that they actually have a workshop over the weekend. So these are we accept from I think Year 10 to Year 12 students. So the good thing is of this, if you complete, this is actually a unit that we are teaching in the first introduction to programming. It will be recognized when you come to uni. So basically you have already done the first, but this is a very limited one because it's a prestigious one. So we are looking for students who are interested, you're motivated, and you want to engage us.
Can you just, Alex has just asked, what was the name of that course? Is it
Can't
National
remember.
Computer?
The National Computer Science.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that one's by
NCSS. Yeah.
NCSS.
NCSS. We call it, yeah. Science, computer science school. I think it's called.
School. Yeah. So it's part of Sydney University, and it is a competitive process where you need to put in an application. And if successful, you do work in small groups and you work on these amazing. Have you heard of it? Say it.
Oh yes, I have.
Yeah. And
Have you been one of them?
No, never.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, just if you put in NCSS
Yes.
Sydney Uni, it'll come up. But yeah, that's definitely correct. NCSS. I can see you've just written on the screen. It is an excellent kind of program, if successful, to be involved in.
Because it's a very good I think 10 days program that you come and you work with all different high school students, and the program is not just teaching about programming and building a website, but there are a lot of like funds and visiting different sort of industry, like going to Google and other things. So it is. Yeah, I think it's about time to make the applications, because they have to do a lot of selections of students. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting lots of excellent questions through, so thank you, everyone. Our next one, what units do I need to choose? So what type of subjects should a student choose if they're interested in game making? Or do we have subjects that relate to game making?
We do not have majors in game making. I'm just thinking how you can combine, and that's why I said it's hard. You can combine things to make it happen. I think the sort of most appropriate combination would be computer science, because you need to some kind of intelligence, so like AI will be in place. And then there are some subjects in the architecture that they have building a lot of we call the virtual environments. And so, and I think arts and interesting, right? We also have from the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, they're also looking at the software developments. So I think if you combine things, we can come up with something fairly similar, or I will not say that they are this of to replace something called a game development, but you can come with something similar.
Yeah, I think we do have a degree that sits in our architecture faculty called Bachelor of Design Computing, and it's not tailored for students interested in game making, but you definitely get that element because it's basically designing the interface for games or phones or any kind of technical service. So that could be something that you might be interested in. If you're still interested in advanced computing, because we're such a flexible degree, you could actually still study Bachelor of Advanced Computing, major in one of our subjects, but then also major in design computing. So that's an option for you to look at. So what is the ATAR requirement in Sydney, and is it possible to get early entry? Okay, I can answer this one. So ATAR requirement is 90 to get into a Bachelor of Advanced Computing. Early entry, we do have one scheme that offers you early entry, and it's called our E12 scheme. Now, you would only be eligible for this scheme if you have suffered from some sort of financial disadvantage. And there's a kind of a process that you will need to go through there to prove that. So if that's you, then yes, that's the option to get an early offer. You would also get $6,000 plus an iPad, and the ATAR, you get concession points, so the ATAR is lowered a bit, and an early offer. So it's an awesome scheme, but it's only for those students that are financially disadvantaged. Okay, our next question. Thank you for the talk. Thanks for joining. I'm aware that UCID has cooperated with Microsoft in working around quantum computing. I would like to ask if Bachelor of Advanced Computing would provide a pathway to learning about quantum computer, or is it more about the physics side?
Right now, I would say it's more about the physics side. We have some of our staffing, they start to look into the other aspect, but yes, it's more in the physics area right now.
So next question. So we've got lots of questions. It's excellent. Would there be a gap between those who do Extension 1 Maths and those who do Extension 2?
No.
No.
Okay. Our requirement is basically, I think Extension 1 is good enough. Of course, if you have Extension 2, there are others. You position yourself in a much better sort of positions because you have I would say that you know some more advanced mathematics that should help you in the whole learning process.
So thanks for that. But I've just seen a question pop up about the alternative entry pathway. So just going back to that conversation, do they include portfolios, interviews, or projects? No. Our alternative pathway schemes are very straightforward in the way where there's no additional kind of resources that you need to kind of do in terms of portfolio or an interview. Interviews are more for our other degrees where they're very competitive and they've got a cap like medicine and dentistry. But alternative pathways, it's just about either showing you've had some sort of disadvantage and where you can come through our Broadway scheme. Financial disadvantage is E12. Another pathway is if you're an elite athlete or performer and you come in through that scheme. And they're the main ones, but there's no kind of additional portfolio or interview that you will have to have. Are there scholarships at the University of Sydney in computer science courses? So we do have one major scholarship that it's definitely worth noting down. Actually, two major ones. Our faculty actually offer the biggest scholarship in the university. It's $18,000 per year for the duration of your engineering or IT degree. The criteria to get into this is it is based on your leadership skills. So it's called the Engineering Leadership Scholarship. You do need to get a relatively high ATAR though to be in the running, plus you need to prove your leadership skills. The other scholarship is just the General Sydney Uni Scholarship called Sydney Scholars Awards. That one you could be awarded between $6,000 and $10,000 per year for the duration of your degree. And that is more looking at the whole you. So it's not just academic, it's not just leadership, but it's also sport, extracurricular, and why you're so passionate about this area, about advanced computing, for example. There are heaps more scholarships available. And they're the two main ones that I would flag. But to find out more information, just go on our website, Sydney Uni Scholarships. Okay, on to the next question. I've learnt Python, HTML, and am in the process of learning C++. Would this help in a major way during the degree? If yes, do you offer some sort of acceleration?
You're right on track, yes. Well, you don't have the, because of that, you don't have the giving a special treat. But there's some of the courses we actually offer, we call advanced version. So you have the experience, so we know that, that the regular topics you'll find it bored because you have to know that already. So you will be separate in a different tutorial groups, and you will be taught something slightly different or in addition to what the other students are learning, because we believe that, well, because you have already done it and you have getting a good grade, so you must have the capacity to absorb some additional material. And that will be reflected in your assessment and also in your final exam. So, well, this is a very broad topic. I mean, just knowing C++ in this, well, I mean, some of us, they spend the whole life researching just C++ or the language. So knowing the language is just one thing, but there's a lot of also interesting topics that we can expand that go into it. So you can take some of the units that, if you're appropriate, then you can have a further sort of depth into a certain aspect of the particular subjects, whether it's a language or other things. For example, I think AI also have advanced topics there.
Okay, so I'm aware we've got 10 minutes left, so I'll just answer as many as we can within these last 10 minutes. So is computer science more of a male-dominated field, or is there more of an even split of both genders? Do you want to perhaps start?
I feel like compared to like engineering and IT, like computer science has like double the average of women inside
So
the
you
field.
see a lot of women in your class?
Yeah, a lot. I don't think like there's like any dominance between like the genders specifically, and I do know for a fact like the Sydney Uni has double the national average of female students studying here.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, our faculty at the University of Sydney, we do have double the national average of women as a whole in the Faculty of Engineering and IT. So that does include engineering students. I think the national average is around 12 or 13%, and we're sitting at 34%. So yeah,
that's roughly right. When I look at the subjects that I taught, and I think it has to be around 30-something% female students.
Excellent.
And also I said that we have the honors program. So in the couple of semester, actually, it is the top students were female students, like the student who worked with me. We have a couple of years. Last year, we also have students. Also, she is a university medalist. So female students can work equally well, or even sometimes even better than the boys, because they're more focused sometimes. The boys are attracted by the female students.
Yeah, and like even like in like the IT companies, you find like a lot of women occupying positions of power. So like for example, like YouTube has a female CEO, and like a lot of different companies have it, and you won't find that in any other field. So yeah.
So our next question is, why should a student come and study at USyd doing a Bachelor of Advanced Computing, and why would that be better than doing an engineering degree majoring in computer science, for example? So why is it better to come to do an advanced computing degree rather than an engineering majoring in software or computer science?
Okay. The two degrees similar in a way that I think especially in the first 3 years, that's for example, it's a software engineering degree. They're relatively similar to our Bachelor Advanced degree, and you major in software development. Right? There's some subtle difference in the first 3 that if you're in an engineering degree, you have to learn a few more engineering units. Right? So you touch on a bit more hardware as compared with the advanced computing. As I said, that we are more a software facing degree. And I think in the 4th year, that actually is how actually I would say that it separate us and the software engineering degree, and depending on your interest. So for a software engineering degree, the student in this 4th year, they're more focused about the process. They're more interested about the standards. They're more interested about the quality and the testing. Whereas if you are in the computer science, in the computing degree, depending on the major that you are interested in. Right? So for example, I'm in the computer science area. So you continue to explore all the interesting things of, like for example, like machine learning or AI. You're trying to understand how it works and how we can move forward that particular front. So that's separate a little bit. So engineering is more like entering the process, whereas if you're doing advanced computing, you're more sort of looking in the more the advanced topic of how the things put together, how it really sort of can move to the next stage.
And advanced computing, if maybe you have another interest, like you mentioned earlier, and doing an advanced computing degree, especially at Sydney Uni, you have that flexibility to kind of branch outside of our faculty if you've got another interest. Whereas if you did engineering and majored in software or computer science, you wouldn't have that flexibility because there's too many core units, so that you don't have that kind of space to take a major from outside the faculty. Okay, so just quickly, what sort of jobs or what type of careers do our Bachelor Advanced Computing students go into? what are their roles called? Like, what's an example of a career?
Wow, it's so hard to answer. All right,
Yeah.
because this is as I said, we have 4 different majors. So it depends on your majors, and also I always say that actually it's still at the end is how well that you get into on your result slips. It's not because of the degree names. So we have students. I mean, a lot of like information systems, for example, system major students. They will be more like a business consultant, working with like KPMG, Accenture, that kind of company. If you are the computer science or software development majors, it's very likely that you will with IBM, you will have with Google. And if you are in the data science, then there's also a broad-based kind of industry. So we have students working in the New South Wales government. New South government has now established they call the data analytics centers, and it is growing. Like they said that the hiring rate is about 30% per year. All right, so they're employing a lot of people. I have students working with NRMA after finishing the data science majors, these students, or there's actually 2 of them. So they sort of work in this industry because they are combining with the other skill set. I mean, so the other student, I think she did in the accounting area. So I think this company will want her to have the skills in not just about the technology, but also she has the knowledge about the business area. So it depends.
So there's lots of options.
There's a lot of there's a lot of things.
In my opinion, being not studying in this program, that's a big benefit because you again aren't pigeonholed to one industry. Whereas if you do engineering or law or medicine or dentistry, you've just got one channel. Whereas an advanced computing degree, you can work across the board of any industry, which is a huge benefit in my opinion in terms of getting a job. Okay, one last question to finish off because we are cutting it very fine. To finish off, can you, again, I think you mentioned it earlier, but just emphasize the main industry connections that we have in the Bachelor of Advanced Computing and what these industries, what connections, they are, and so students know who they could be working with.
Well, again, there's so many of them, right? So, for example, is that I just talked to an industry people just this morning, and so we will. The students will engage in the group. Actually, of course, we are not using the student as a cheap labor, but there's certain aspect we will need the students to explore, so they will prototype, and to understand what this industry requires. So this one is also is listed in Australian Stock Exchange, so it's not a small company. And of course, some of them are more related with research. So that's why I think some of students are already aware that we link with Microsoft and we are linked with Google, we've linked with Atlassian. So some of them, they're a bit more research flavor into it. So it really depends the majors that you're doing, and also sometimes opportunity comes in and out. And I also have to say that, I mean, we also receive a lot of like frequent email from industry, and they're actually asking students to do work for them. It's a paid work. It's not just because you have to do a unit. And so it will be, and they are expecting the students to go to the company. So it will be a good experience. I mean,
what companies are asking you?
Some of them are small, usually a small and medium-sized company, SME company.
So there's a need for industries.
Yes, they
want our students to come and help them. Are any of your friends working with any current industries at the moment or companies, or you're not sure?
Like a couple of my friends work at Deloitte and KPMG from memory. And they got in their 3rd year. So,
and then they got a job post-graduation in those companies?
No, they're like presently doing an internship, but like their prospects are already looking very good because they're already getting like a lot of hands-on experience.
and one of the major employees like user Sydney.
Yes.
We had an honor student at the time that he's already working in actually the development of the student information system at the time when he was still doing doing this for us. So I think as he so I think before he finished his honors program, this they actually give him the a very. I was told that he's a very good salary.
I'm sure IT is the one thing that will always be needed with like
it kind of across different industries, so many industries.
Okay guys, it is 7 o'clock, so we will have to leave it there. I am aware there's lots of questions unanswered. We do have an email that Emerald will write on the chat, which she already has on top of it. So feel free to email this channel and ask your questions. We are here to help, so please do send them through. I think that's it. So thank you both to Saeed and Josiah for joining us tonight. Very informative information from you both. And thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you have a nice evening and good night.
Good night.
Good night.